Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Hockey Talk with TG podcast. I'm Ty Glenn. Hopefully you guys are having a great Thursday. We got a lot of NHL news to cover, so make sure that you stay tuned in to the end of this episode and make sure to follow the Hockey Talk with TG podcast on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. I know this isn't my normal show day that I usually do the Hockey Talk with TG podcast, but there was a big NHL news last night that I will discuss. I will get into that shortly. But yeah, just make sure that you are following the Hockey Talk with TG podcast on all your podcast streaming platforms, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio, so you can stay up to date on the latest NHL news and episodes of the Hockey Talk TG podcast. Episodes come out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 11:30 a.m. to noon Central Time. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the NHL news for today. So the big news that happened last night that I wanted to discuss is Alex Ovechkin. He scored goal number 900 in the Washington Capitals' 6-1 win over the St. Louis Blues, and the Capitals moved to 7-5-1 of the season. That goal came in the second period on a backhand shot from Alex Ovechkin past Jordan Binnington at 7 minutes and 22 seconds of the second period. And of course, Alex Ovechkin's teammates came off the bench, celebrated whenever celebrate this historical moment. This was his third goal of the season, and he is the first NHL player in NHL history to score 900 or more career NHL goals. This accomplishment has not been done before. No other NHL player has scored 900 or more goals before. It's not been done before, not been achieved before. So Alex Ovechkin is the first NHL player to achieve this mark. Of course, last year during the 2024-25 NHL season, he passed Wayne Gretzky on the NHL's all-time goal-scoring list to become the greatest goal scorer in the NHL. Now he has goal number 900, and I'm so glad that it came against the St. Louis Blues. That might be a trivia question if somebody asking it. Alex Ovechkin scored his 900 career NHL goal. What team was it against? And then you would just say St. Louis Blues. So that's a trivia question right there. So I'm glad that he didn't break his goal record against us. Like, he did have the record tying goal when Alex Ovechkin tied Wayne Gretzky on the NHL's all-time goal scoring list. That came against the Chicago Blackhawks, who you guys know they're my favorite NHL team. But the record-breaking goal, not the record-tying goal, but the record-breaking goal was against the New York Islanders last season, and then his 900 career NHL goal was against the St. Louis Blues. So those are some trivia questions about Ovi. If anybody asks any of those questions, you guys will have the correct answer to them. One thing that was funny about Alex Ovechkin I can't get my words right today. One funny moment about Alex Ovechkin scoring his 900 career NHL goal was Jordan Binnington, because Alex the goaltender he scored on. Alex Ovechkin scored on a lot of goaltenders in his NHL career. And Jordan Binnington is on that list, obviously. Jordan Binnington, after the goal was scored on him, took the puck and shoved it in his pants. He shoved it in his pants after he was scored on. The referees tried to tell him to give it back, and he took the puck out of his pants and he gave it back to the referees, gave it to Alex Ovechkin. But I just thought that was one of the funniest, maybe stupidest moments that Jordan Binnington has done, but I thought it was really funny. Taking the puck after you got scored on and then putting it in your pants shoving it in your pants, and just keeping the puck. Maybe Jordan Binnington was going to sell that on eBay. Probably would have made a lot of money, and a lot of people would have been going for the puck because that's the puck that Alex Ovechkin scored his 900 career NHL goal on. But yeah, I thought that was funny. The whole moment was hilarious. At least that particular moment was hilarious. But Alex Ovechkin scoring his 900 career NHL goal is a historical moment, unreal moment. Like I said, no other NHL player in NHL history achieved this moment but Alex Ovechkin. Achieved this stat, I should say, but Alex Ovechkin. When Ovi was asked about Jordan Binnington putting the puck in his pants, he said he had no comment on that. And I agree with him. I would have no comment. Well, I wouldn't know what to say either on that. Like, it was just crazy. It was just an weird moment. Like, I probably would have no comment on that either about Jordan Binnington putting the puck in his pants. But yeah, great moment for Alex Ovechkin. And glad that he got it done at home. When Alex Ovechkin had the record-breaking goal last year against the Islanders, that was done on the road. That wasn't done at home. That was done on the road. Imagine that being done at home. It would have been more. I can't think of the word I want to say, but it would have been a more memorable moment for Alex Ovechkin had he broke the record of Wayne Gretzky at home last season. It would have been more memorial. But yeah, overall thoughts on this, like I said, it's a great moment for Alex Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals, their fans, the organization, the teammates, his family, because his family was in attendance. His wife and his son was in attendance. I believe his son's name is Sergei Ovechkin. So they were in attendance to witness Ovi scoring career goal number 900. A great moment added to the history books. And I'm pretty sure Wayne Gretzky is happy with the moment as well. He was in the building when Ovi broke his record last season against the New York Islanders. He was in the building when Ovi broke the record. He said he would be the first person that he would congratulate when Alex Ovechkin did break the record. He shook his hand. The first person shook his hand after he broke the record. So he was there to see that. Unfortunately, not in the building to see Alex Ovechkin get goal number 900. And I know Wayne Gretzky said that records are meant to be broken. I can guarantee you that this record will never be broken. I don't see nobody passing Alex Ovechkin on the NHL's all-time goal-scoring list anytime soon. I don't see it happening. I don't see this record being broken. I think it's going to stay permanent. And my projected career goals for Alex Ovechkin, I say he gets to 935. Maybe 935 at the least. Maybe 935 at the least. He'll get there. At least 935 goals. That's just my thoughts on it. Let me know you guys' thoughts. Do you see Alex Ovechkin getting at 935 goals? Do you see him getting less than that? Let me know you guys' thoughts on that as well. But yeah, great moment from Washington, D.C. Alex Ovechkin getting goal number 900 on home ice. And the fans won't forget about Jordan Binnington putting the puck in his pants. But yeah, I just thought that was a funny moment right there. I know some people didn't like it. It was like low sportsmanship right there from Jordan Binnington. Some people hated it. Some people were against Jordan Binnington doing that, called him out, called him bad names and stuff like that. For me, I just thought it was funny. I thought it was hilarious. But again, some people did not like that, and they didn't think it was funny. It was just low sportsmanship right there. But yeah, moving on to the next game. Tyler Bertuzzi, he records a hat trick in the Blackhawks 5-2 win over the Vancouver Canucks on Wednesday. Fourth career hat trick for Tyler Bertuzzi. And man, oh man, did we need that win because the Canucks have had our number of late. They had a number of late. They won 11 straight games against the Blackhawks dating back to January 31st of 2022. And when I saw that the Blackhawks won against the Canucks, I'm like, yes, finally, we get a win over the Vancouver Canucks. I was just really, really happy that we got the win. We moved to 6-5-3 of the season. Connor Bedard, he picked up 2 points in this game. He had an assist, also had a goal on the empty netter. That's his first goal against his hometown Vancouver Canucks because, of course, last year and the year that he made his NHL debut, he didn't have a goal against the Vancouver Canucks. So I'm pretty sure it felt good for him, even though it was an empty netter. I'm pretty sure it had to feel good for Bedgie to get a goal against Vancouver. Ilya Mikheyev also scored for the Blackhawks in this one, so he used to play for the Vancouver Canucks, and now he's playing for the Blackhawks, getting goals against his former team. Spencer Knight made 43 saves on 45 shots facing net, so he had a heck of a game. We were outshot in this game as well. So for Spencer Knight to come in and put on this type of performance is unreal, and it means something for the Blackhawks after going 0-2. After going into this game, the Blackhawks were 0-2-1 on their 6-game road trip coming into this game. And playing against the Canucks, who had our number of late, who's been dominating against us, not to mention that they won against us earlier this season, 3-2 in the shootout. At the United Center in the game back in October. And for us to come in and get this win, and Spencer Knight putting on the type of performance that he put on in this win, really means something. It's really great to see from Spencer Knight and from the Chicago Blackhawks. Special teams were perfect in this game as well. Blackhawks finished 1-for-1 on the power play, perfect 2-for-2 on the penalty kill. Not to mention that we were playing against Lukas Reichel. Lukas Reichel used to be on the Chicago Blackhawks. He was traded to the Canucks, I believe at some point of October. Some point in October, he was traded to the Vancouver Canucks for I believe, a 4th-round draft pick in the 2027 NHL draft. So I didn't like what we got back. I didn't like that we had to trade Lukas Reichel. I do hate that it didn't work out here for him in Chicago, but I'm pretty sure he'll have a standout year in Vancouver. I'm pretty sure he'll do well in Vancouver. I know he'll do well. He is a bright spot. He was a great bottom 6 player for the Blackhawks during his time here. I'm pretty sure he'll be a good top 6 forward in his time with the Vancouver Canucks. So he does have a bright future. I'm just upset that it didn't work here in Chicago or with the Blackhawks. I hate that the Blackhawks had to trade him. He had a bright future ahead of him in Chicago, but he's going to have an even more brighter future and have a more better start in Vancouver. Speaking of the Canucks, Aturati and Evander Kane scored for Vancouver. Evander Kane is a Vancouver native. He's from Vancouver, played for the Vancouver Giants of the WHL, now playing for his hometown, Vancouver Canucks. Kevin Lankinen, former Chicago Blackhawk, felt good to get a win against him in this one because going back to that Canucks and Blackhawks game at the United Center in October, Tyler Bertuzzi had the go-ahead goal in that game, but it was called back due to goaltender interference. So for us to get a win over Kevin Lankinen and the Vancouver Canucks, I'm really ecstatic about that. And Kevin Lankinen wasn't even that good during his time on the Chicago Blackhawks. He's doing good so far in the Canucks. He did have a brief stint in Nashville with the Nashville Predators. He was solid there. He's good, and he's playing better on the Vancouver Canucks. But when he was with the Blackhawks, his stats were terrible. But in this game, he made 23 saves on 27 shots facing net. Like I said, we were outshot in this game. But we still came out with the win, though. So that's good. Canucks were coming off of a 2-1-0 road trip heading into this one, and this game was actually the start of a 4-game homestand for the Vancouver Canucks. It had to end in a 5-2 loss to the Chicago Blackhawks, and they moved to 7-8-0 of the season. The Canucks are still continuing their 4-game homestand against the Columbus Blue Jackets on Saturday at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. The Blackhawks continue their 6-game road trip against the Calgary Flames Friday at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. So far, Blackhawks are 1-2-1 during their 6-game road trip. Of course, we had a 6-3 loss to the Jonathan Tage and the Winnipeg Jets, and then I believe it was a 4-3 overtime loss to the Edmonton Oilers. I know we had an overtime loss to them. It didn't go into the shootout, unfortunately. So, overtime loss to the Edmonton Oilers and a 3-1 loss to the Seattle Kraken on Monday. But I hope the second half of this road trip has more wins. Blackhawks did get a 5-2 win over the Vancouver Canucks, hoping to get wins over the Calgary Flames. We should get a win over the Calgary Flames, considering the Flames are tied for last place with the St. Louis Blues. But between the Blues and the Flames, I hate to say this, but the Flames are the worst team than the Blues. So we should get a win over Calgary. And then the Blackhawks wrap up their 6-game road trip in Detroit against the Red Wings on Sunday, and I hope to see Patrick Kane in that game for Detroit because he's been out with a upper body injury. I think an upper body injury, so he's been out for a while. Hope to see him in Sunday's game against the Detroit Red Wings in that one. But that will wrap up the 6-game road trip, hoping to get wins in Calgary and Detroit. But moving on from Vancouver to Toronto, so another part of Canada. Toronto Maple Leafs, they hold off the Utah Mammoth with a 5-3 win at home on Wednesday. They moved to 8-5-1 of the season. They won 3 in a row. They won 5 of their past 6 games. And John Tavares scored career goal number 501, scored at 8 minutes and 6 seconds of the first period. He did get his 500 career NHL goal on October 29th in the Maple Leafs 6-3 loss to the Blue Jackets. So he scored his 500 career goal in that game. In this game, he gets career goal 501. Matias Maccelli, I think he used to play for the Mammoth. He had a goal and assist in this one for a 2-point night. Austin Matthews scored for Toronto in this one, so I'm pretty sure he's doing well without Mitch Marner. I do miss that tandem of Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner in Toronto. For those who don't know, Mitch Marner is now in the VGK, Vegas Golden Knights, but I do miss him in Toronto, though. I hate that it didn't work out well in Toronto. He kept losing in Toronto, but I hate to say this, if you're a Leafs fan, maybe he'll win a cup in Vegas. Just like for Brad Marchand, even though he did win a cup with the Boston Bruins in 2011. It didn't work out there in Boston during the 2024-25 season, so they traded him to the Florida Panthers, and he won a cup with them last season. I know Bruins fans hated to see that, and I know if the Golden Knights win a cup and Mitch Marner is still on the team, I know Maple Leafs fans will hate to see that as well. But for Austin Matthews, he gets his 225th career goal at home, tied him with Dave Keon for second most in Leafs franchise history. William Nylander and Matthew Knies had a goal and assist in this one for a 2-point night. Matthew Knies is currently on a 6-game point streak in which he has 10 points during the span, 3 goals, 7 assists for 10 points during a 6-game point streak. And Anthony Stolarz made 21 saves on 24 shots faced the net. And for the Mammoth, Michael Carcone, Mikhail Sergachev, and Dylan Gunther scored for Utah, while Vika Vanacek made 14 saves on 19 shots faced the net. In the Mammoth, they were coming off of a 2-1 overtime win over the Buffalo Sabres on Tuesday. Clayton Keller with the overtime game-winning goal. Back-to-back overtime wins in this one. back-to-back games. Excuse me. I can't get my words out today, guys. I don't know why. Back-to-back games in this one for the Utah Mammoth. They lost 3 of their past 4 games, and they moved to 9-5-0 this season. So they're still in a good spot. It's not really that bad. They continue their 4-game road trip on Saturday against the Canadians at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Back-to-back games for them for the weekend slate. They will be in Ottawa on Sunday against the Senators to conclude their 4-game road trip. So they're in Montreal on Saturday. That should be a good game. Hockey night in Canada. And the Bell Center is always buzzing, especially on Saturday night. So that might be a good game to watch. And then the Mammoth go to Ottawa, the capital of Canada, for those who did not know that, to take on the Senators Sunday to wrap up their 4-game road trip. But for the Maple Leafs, they will continue their 4-game homestand against the Brewers, another good hockey night in Canada game, Saturday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. This will also be the day of the new Hockey Hall of Fame inductees, so Zdeno Chara, Duncan Keith, I believe Joe Thornton. I think he's getting inducted this year. I don't know if he's been inducted to the Hockey Hall of Fame already or not. But yeah, Zdeno Chara, Duncan Keith, Joe Thornton, and many others will get inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame this weekend. So that will be also on display. And the Maple Leafs will conclude their homestand on Sunday against the Carolina Hurricanes at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. But they take on a familiar foe and Atlantic Division rivals Boston Bruins on Saturday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. So 2 Hockey Night in Canada games right there to watch, the Mammoth and the Canadians, Maple Leafs and Bruins. But speaking of Canadian NHL teams, moving on from one Canadian NHL team to another, the Calgary Flames. They cruised past the Columbus Blue Jackets with a 5-1 win on Wednesday. They moved to 4-9-2 of the season. They won 2 straight games for the first time this season because, like I said, they are in dead last, or at least tied for last, in the NHL. Nazem Kadri scored in this one. This was his 1,000th career NHL game from Nazem Kadri. And fun fact, Nazem Kadri became the second Flames player to score while skating in his 1,000th career NHL games since Martin Galanis, hopefully I pronounced that last name right, did it on December 9th of 2003. Kadri is the 41st active skater in the league to reach the 1,000 career game in a Flames uniform. Morgan Frost, Blake Coleman, Adam Klapka, and Michael Backlund also scored for Calgary. Dustin Wolf made 42 saves on 43 shots faced in net. 22 of those saves coming in the third period. Kirill Marchenko scored the lone goal for Columbus in this one. It was a short-handed goal. He's currently on a 6-game point streak. He had 6 points during the span, 1 goal, 5 assists for Kirill Marchenko during a 6-game point streak. Jet Greaves made 21 saves on 26 shots faced in net, and the Blue Jackets have lost 2 straight games after winning their previous 4, and they moved to 7-6-0 of the season. The Blue Jackets continue their 5-game road trip on Saturday against the Canucks at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. The Flames will play the Blackhawks on Friday at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. But moving on to the final game of the night on Wednesday, the San Jose Sharks, they put up a 6th spot in their 6-1 win over the Seattle Kraken on Wednesday. They moved to 5-6-3 of the season. As a Blackhawks fan, this hasn't felt good for me because the Kraken did beat us 3-1 on Monday and didn't like the loss. So it felt good to see Macklin Celebrini and the Sharks put up a 6th spot over the Seattle Kraken. And speaking of Macklin Celebrini, he did score in this one, also added 2 assists for a 3-point night. He actually has 4 3-point games this season as well. Will Smith, Tyler Toffoli, and John Klingberg each had a goal and an assist for a 2-point night. Ethan Cardwell And Ty Dellandrea also scored for the Sharks as well. Ethan Cardwell was credited for the game-winning goal in this game. And Yaroslav Askarov made 28 saves on 29 shots faced in net. And for the Kraken, Ryan Winterton scored the lone goal for Seattle. This will be his first career NHL goal. Joey DeCoy made 15 saves before being replaced by Matt Murray, who made 3 saves in relief. I don't know if it's the same Matt Murray that won 2 Stanley Cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins in 2016-2017. Only reason why I'm saying that is because there are 2 Matt Murrays in the NHL, I believe, and both of them are goaltenders. Both of them are goalies, I believe. They are goalies, and both of them play in the NHL. So I don't know if it's that same Matt Murray or not. I did not watch this game. I did see some of the highlights, but I did not watch this entire game, though. But anyways, the Kraken finished their 5-game homestand with a 2-1-2 record. They moved to 6-3-4 this season. They will start a 2-game back-to-back weekend road trip against the St. Louis Blues on Saturday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Then they will be in Dallas to take on the Dallas Stars on Sunday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. NHL games on the slate for today. So there's 9 games on the NHL slate, starting with the Ottawa Senators taking on the Boston Bruins at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time, followed by the St. Louis Blues taking on the Buffalo Sabres at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Let's see if Jordan Binnington steals another puck or not. And then we got the Montreal Canadiens taking on New Jersey Devils at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. So Cole Caulfield versus Jack Hughes, 2 of my favorite NHL players to watch. Then we got the Minnesota Wild taking on the Carolina Hurricanes at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And then Washington Capitals versus Pittsburgh Penguins at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Sidney Crosby versus Alex Ovechkin for the 29th time, I believe, in NHL history. I saw this on the NHL.com website. I believe this will be the 29th time that Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin have faced off against each other in their NHL careers, and both of them, it feels like both of them came, I think both of them came into the same league. Both made their NHL debut at the same time. Even though Alex Ovechkin was drafted in 2004, Sidney Crosby was drafted in 2005, I believe both of them debuted at the same time. Like, they both came to the NHL, started 2005-2006 NHL season, and they have played 20-plus NHL season. I believe this is their 21st NHL season for Sid and Ovi as well. And this rivalry between the Capitals and Penguins is always good and great to see Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin go at it. One favorite part that I have from this rivalry is Game 2 of the 2009 Stanley Cup playoffs, where Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin both scored a hat trick in that one. I believe the Capitals ended up winning Game 2 of that game, but the Penguins won the series in general because, don't forget, they won the 2009 Stanley Cup against the Detroit Red Wings. That was when the Detroit Red Wings were in the Western Conference. Now they're in the Eastern Conference, but back then when Sid was the youngest captain, I believe he was the youngest captain in Penguins franchise history at age, I think around age 19, 20. I don't know how old he was when he first became the Penguins captain, but I believe he was the youngest captain in franchise history. When the Penguins took on the Red Wings in the 2008 and 2009 Stanley Cup final. But yeah, that was my favorite part from that Capitals and Penguins, Sidney Crosby, Alex Ovechkin rivalry. Game 2, 2009 Stanley Cup playoffs. Both of them score a hat trick in that game. But this game, Capitals and Penguins, this will be at PPG Paints Arena. This will air on Hulu and ESPN Plus for you to watch. So another good game on the NHL slate for today. And then we got the Philadelphia Flyers taking on the Nashville Predators at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. These two teams faced off, I believe, last week, the day before Halloween on October 30th. Flyers beat the Predators 4-1 in that one. Trevor Zegras had 2 goals in that game. I think he had an assist as well in that game. So he was on fire in that game for sure. He might be on fire in this game. I don't know. I hope the Predators don't get any more weird calls after that, because I do hate that game, the way that it ended with them losing in overtime to the Minnesota Wild. The puck not even going into the net. Justus Anderson was in net in that game. He knocked the net off. And Marcus Johansson thought he scored. So he didn't know, or any of the players didn't know if they should celebrate or not. But the referee said it was a good goal. But again, still couldn't get how is that a goal. But my guess would be because Marcus Johansson was about to tap it in before Anderson moved the net. And that's probably why the referee said it was a good goal. But I don't know. We see stupid calls in hockey all the time, or calls that should have been calls and they were. So we see those kinds of strange calls in hockey. At least sometimes we do. If not all the time, then maybe sometimes. But anyway, we've got the Anaheim Ducks, who are in first place in the Pacific Division, taking on the Dallas Stars at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. So that will be another good game, considering how head coach Joe Quenneville has turned this team around. And then we got the Tampa Bay Lightning taking on the VGK Vegas Golden Knights at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And then we got the Florida Panthers taking on the LA Kings at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. This will air on Hulu and ESPN+. Florida Panthers getting blown out the other night by the Anaheim Ducks. They lost 7-3 to the Ducks on Tuesday. Carter Gauthier getting his first career hat trick. And that one, they look for a better response against the LA Kings. We'll see if they get it done. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Hockey Talk with TG podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, really do appreciate it. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe on the podcast YouTube channel, and make sure to follow me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Again, I know this isn't my usual show day. I do the Hockey Talk with TG podcast. Usually I do every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11:30 a.m. To noon Central Time. But I just wanted to talk about Alex Ovechkin's 900 career NHL goal and some of the other NHL news happening around the league that I just decided to do an episode for today. Both of you guys have a great rest of your day. Keep God first as always. Be blessed. Enjoy the 9-game slate for tonight. Plenty of good games coming on for tonight. And I'll see you guys on Friday for another episode of the Hockey Talk with TG podcast. Take care.